We'll now bring the Wednesday, September 21st, 2016 Norco City Council meeting to order. All council members are present and accounted for. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Council Member Robin Grunmeyer.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Renee from the Beacon Hill Assembly of God.
Would you please bow your head with me in prayer? Dear Lord, we come before you, Lord, just humbly, Lord, God, acknowledging, God, the nature, Lord, of this relationship as creator and creation, and asking for your direction and your wisdom and the guidance of this council, Lord, and the decisions that are made, and for all of our elected officials. And we thank you, Lord, for the provision that you have given us, Lord, and we just acknowledge, Lord, that you are the giver of all life, Lord, and all provision. And Lord, we also come together, Lord, on this week, Father, that we've seen a renewal of violence, Father God, and harm, Lord, and hatred, and across our nation, Father, and Lord, in different venues and relationships. And we just ask, God, for, God, your protection, Lord Jesus, and for peace, Father. Lord, that as we come and we confront these things in the face and the texture of our culture, Lord Jesus, and as we face those foes, God, that would try to harm us from without, Lord Jesus, I pray, Father, that you would, God, Lord, just give wisdom and grace, Father God, abundantly, as you have shown it to us as individuals. Again, we pray for our nation, Lord, that you would, God, that we come, Lord, not just with the weapons of this world, Lord, that we would like to grab at, whether it's on our verbal weaponry, Father God, or some other way, but Lord Jesus, that we come, Lord, with divine weaponry, Lord, of prayer, trust, God, confidence in you, Lord. Your word tells us that you have given us these things, that we could demolish the strongholds that exist within this world, Lord. And we ask, oh Father, that you would do that today. Begin to tear down the barriers, begin to tear down the hatred, Father. And Lord Jesus, that the peace that passes all understanding, Lord, would reign in our hearts and our lives, God, and reign in our nation, Father. Lord, we thank you for this, and we thank you, Lord, for the United States of America and the principles upon which it was founded. And Lord, may they always, God, remain stalwart and great, Lord. Father God, acknowledging, God, your direction and your guidance in our world and in our national life. We thank you for this. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Renee. Hey, Renee, thanks for coming out and starting off our meetings. Thank you. So now I'm going to have Scott LaRosa come on up. Scott DeRosa. And I'm going to have Monique Williams, Executive Team Leader from Target.
Hi, Monique. Pleasure to meet you. On behalf of Norco's Economic Development and
It's
on now? Am I just not close enough?
Yeah.
Okay. On behalf of Norco's Economic Development and Advisory Committee, it's my privilege to present to you this Business Appreciation Acknowledgement for everything that you've done in our community, including supporting the National Night Out that was last month. I want to go ahead and read to you what it says on the plaque. The City of Norco hereby honors Target for its long-lasting commitment to the families of Norco, anchoring the city's largest shopping center and bringing one of America's most iconic brands to Horsetown, USA. Target shares the values of Norco residents, which was clearly on display through the company's sponsorship of National Night Out, an opportunity to celebrate Norco's true family spirit. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's get a quick. He's an economic development guy in training.
Yeah. Was I supposed to remove the plastic?
Here. So here you go. Let's get a picture. There we go. So I'm going to say a couple of words, just really, really quick. I want to thank Target for being one of the cornerstones of our economic development. It was a hard-fought battle to get you here many years ago. I'm like the only one that remembers. But I understand it's a very high-performing store, and I want you to know how much we appreciate what you do for us, the contributions you make, and the support of the various groups. So thank you. From Norco. Do you want to say something?
Yes, I want to thank everyone for this opportunity and the award that you're presenting to us. We really, really appreciate it. Our store team leader is Tara Esparza. She couldn't be here tonight to accept the award, but she's also a citizen of Norco. I'm also a citizen of neighboring Eastvale. I shop Norco. I love Norco. I was a student at Norco College. We feed back into the community because you guys are really an awesome community that really values American value, and we appreciate that. One of the things that we're working towards this year is to focus more on localization, to talk to our guests as they come in to find out what it is that you want in your local Norco Target. Sometimes we have needs here that other stores may not carry what we want, but we want to make sure that we're talking to each and every one of you and asking, what can we carry for you? What can we bring to the store that really feeds to the Norco community? We also have plans to donate a $200 gift card for, there's a city Santa event that's coming? Yes. So our plan is to donate a $200 gift card to that, as well as do a Shop with a Cop program to help sponsor that as well. We look forward to continued partnership. We appreciate everything that you do, and please, please, please don't hesitate to give us any comments and feedbacks that we can do to help the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Eric, what's the deputy's name in the back?
That's Deputy Darrell Robertson.
Thank you, sir, for protecting us. Thank you very, very much. Moving on to City Council communications reports on regional boards and commissions. Who'd like to start? Robin, you look like you want to start.
Mr. Mayor, you do this every time. I have nothing to report this week.
Berwin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only had one meeting this month. August was dark. Tomorrow we have RTA meeting, but I had Vector 2 weeks ago, and it was an interesting meeting. They had 5 Vector control people from 5 different countries. They're the head people of Vector in these countries. There was people, a man there from Germany, India, Poland, Greece, and I think Italy was the other one. There's a lot of accents in that room that day. But the gentleman from Germany is the head of Vector for all of Europe over there, and very interesting. They have a lot of the same problems that we have over here, but our director that's in charge of Vector here at Northwest and this gentleman got their PhDs at the same time at the same place, so they've been friends for about 40 years. And Major Dillon, our vector control man here, is the #1 in the United States on vector. So it was a very interesting conversation that day, and the rest of the people, they gave small reports, but they all depended on the gentleman from Germany to give the main report and everything. And while we're on vector, you know, mosquitoes have been a problem, and right now there's 2 active cases of West Nile in Riverside, and there's 1 here in Norco on humans, and I don't know of but 1 in the county on a horse, and that was several months ago. So be very careful when you're outside and everything, protect yourself, because West Nile is a very, very bad disease. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Ted?
Yep. We had our executive meeting for the Veterans Memorial Group. Please put on your calendars on November 11th. We're going to have a memorial service up there all day. We're working on our main speaker at this point. We'll also do a flag retiring ceremony like we did last year. So we'll get more out to it as it comes out. Also, up at the memorial, if you were, since we will be dark for the first week in October, I just want to invite, there's going to be a long range patrol event. These are veterans that are going to coming from specialized fields. Most of them are Vietnam vets. They'll be having a memorial and a presentation up there on October 8th and 9th for that weekend. So if you see a lot of guys, veterans, thank them for their service and welcome them home for that weekend. Met with the Navy regarding the historic buildings in our Section 106 hearings. Very good meeting with them. Discussed a lot of things coming on. We're going to work with a new captain, so that went very well. I also had a couple of workshops for those of you where Councilman Newton and I are working on the fireworks. How to handle fireworks along with the fire and the Sheriff's Department, trying to come up with ideas as far as for New Year's Eve and 4th of July in the future. And I want to thank, I see Glenn back there, I don't see Bonnie, and I see Pat. No, there's Bonnie. Thank you for the candidates night. That was very informative. You guys did a good job. Also, the Chamber, excellent job for the first responders luncheon. Very well received, very well attended. Congratulations to your guys from CAL FIRE and Sheriff's Department for the recipients. Thank you.
Greg?
Thank you. Good evening. I also wanted to mention the workshop that we had regarding fireworks in the city. Wanted to thank staff for their report, and the fire chief and your crew, and lieutenant with your group helping us work through the challenges and the strategies that you presented. It was well appreciated, and we will be having a follow-up meeting on that. Our Chino DeSalter CDA Authority Board meeting will be the first Thursday of this coming month, and our RCWA meeting, which is the Western Riverside County Regional Wastewater Authority, Chad and I get a pass this month that they canceled the board meeting. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Newton. I had my WRCOG meeting, and I've been assigned to the CEQA committee. They want to look to see if they can maybe streamline some of that. I'm not sure how it all applies, but it's kind of interesting. And then I had my RCA meeting also. Essentially, we're buying up a lot of property right now, so it's a good deal to help mitigate, and a lot of builders are buying into the program. To sort of tag team off of Ted, the Navy meeting actually went really, really well. We already knew that they had decided to save a historic roof, which we were really delighted by. And then the other thing, which was very interesting, it's a little bit of a neener, and forgive me, I've earned it. But we told them they'd have a hard time getting somebody in who would put in the infrastructure for a restaurant, i.e. the grease traps and all that stuff, and sure enough, because of the infrastructure, they no longer have a tenant there. But we're working so well with the Navy, we're going to try to figure out a way that maybe we can get somebody in there, or find ways to get them to our restaurants and to accommodate them, which worked out pretty well. And then in terms of the solar panels, when nobody was looking, the technology changed, and nobody's using solar panels anymore. They're now using batteries and things like that, so they're not going to cover the entire property with solar panels. So I think that worked out pretty well. I've given everybody on council, a lot of people know that we were the first. We were the first city on the West Coast, and actually the second in the nation, to become a commemorative partner for the Vietnam War. It's a national program, and they just sent me thousands of things. So in these little packages, there's there's the proclamation, there's a brochure telling you about it, there's all kinds of stickers, there's little pins, and these only go to Vietnam veterans, and they're to thank them for their service. And it'll be going on for the next couple of years. And literally, these are actually the cities, but I'm afraid to give them to Cheryl and say, here, Cheryl, oh, here's 5 boxes of pins and stuff. But, you know, technically they're the city's. I can drop them off. It might be nice to get them out of my office. But anyway, we're going to hand these out. We've been handing them out, but we've never received quite this much stuff. And it's just, I'm really proud of the fact that we were the first one to receive the flag. And I'm just really, really proud, too, that the Rangers have chosen, they're going to have a reunion, that they've chosen our memorial to have that. Ted, did I hear right? They're going to they pretty much filled our Fairfield Inn?
Yes, they've booked in. They booked almost this over a year in advance. So yeah, there's going to be quite a few of them in town. So you'll see them about. They'll have their vest on. They'll wear their I hate to say the word colors, but they'll be flying their emblems and stuff like that. So again, if you see them in the restaurants and something like that, yeah, welcome them home. And
so I'm very excited about that and really proud of that fact. And then did anybody see the race they had at Silver Lakes this last weekend? Yeah, I heard it was really packed and crowded. Can you maybe talk a little bit about it? See, you did go to something.
But that was not city council business. That was mom business. So I did attend the race at Silver Lakes in support of the Norco cross country team. It was quite packed. Parking was full on the Silver Lakes side at a premium rate, and then the park across the street was also quite full as well. So it was tons of people there.
Well, he makes his payments every month, so I'm happy. Moving on to city council consent items. Does anybody wish to pull an item? Greg, I'll start with you.
Item C.
Ted?
item E.
Robin?
Mr. Councilman Hoffman got mine.
Okay. Berwin? Do I hear a motion to approve A, B, D,
Move to
and F?
approve the rest.
Second?
Council members Hannah, Grunmeyer, Hoffman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Newton,
Yes.
Mayor Bash.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Greg, you were the first. Item C.
I would like, excuse me, I'd like to make a recommendation to council to agendize on the Planning Commission meetings, item 3A, continued public hearings, conditional use permit 2015-06. Is this do you care to hear any reasons, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a couple of concerns with this item. This was a accessory building that I believe was built well over a year ago without permits. It was a code enforcement case. My concerns were that staff had recommended approval. I believe this sends a wrong message to the community that, in a sense, that you can go ahead and build a building without permits, any approvals, and that if you get caught, we'll maybe slap your hand and move forward. The other concern I had was with the Planning Commission, that although their recommendation for denying the project without prejudice was probably a smart approach in dealing with this, that the time frame that was put on this to allow an additional 6 months for the applicant to go ahead and get a geotechnical report on the foundation investigation, and that there was just a drainage report, but it did not make avail of saying, making the statement of fact that you should also have a civil engineer look at the drainage situation, in the time frame being within 6 months. So this illegal building would then not have to come back to planning until February, where the reality is that you can go ahead and hire a soils engineer and a civil engineer and get a report back within 30 days. Should be the norm. So those are a couple of the basic reasons that I have to ask the council to put it on the agenda to have a discussion on this.
So you've made a motion?
That would be my motion.
I'll second that. Under discussion, I want to make sure that because I was going to pull this item for a different reason, but I'm going to wait till you have that discussion. I understand the time frame, and I want to make sure that it's clear that I absolutely support the decision that they made on this building, but you make some very good points, and I'd like to use it as a bit of a platform to talk about some other issues. So again, I'll second that motion. Any other discussion?
I think you can discuss it. Can we discuss it, Colin?
Yeah, you can discuss it. Is under discussion.
No, I agree with Pro Tem Newton on this.
Council members Hannah, Grunmeyer, Hoffman, Mayor Pro Tem Newton, Mayor Bash.
Yes. Any other discussions on this particular item?
Mayor Bash, excuse me. I do have one public comment card for item 2C.
Oh, okay. Please.
Mike Thompson.
Good evening, Council. This is also in regards to the last Planning Commission meeting. On August 3rd, a council meeting, there were 2 Planning Commission denials that were brought to you for appeal. Both these projects met the city's code requirements and were recommended for approval by staff. And the council overturned both of these denials, one of which was about traversing the animal keeping area to access the building. Council also expressed its displeasure with all of these appeals coming before you. And again, at this last Planning Commission, project 2016-14 was denied because of the traversing of the animal keeping area. This project again met all the current codes and was recommended for approval by staff, and it's not a metal building. So again, you're going to be seeing another appeal. And what of our citizens are supposed to expect when their projects meet the codes and staff recommends approval, only to be denied because of the discretionary opinions that this will hurt animal keeping? The animal area is there, and it was, like I said again, it was approved. And my fear is that we're going to have expensive litigation for our town, and if some sort of direction isn't given regarding the codes versus these opinions of animal keeping usage in the areas, it's a mess. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments?
No more cards.
Close public comments. Interestingly enough, that's what I'm going to be talking about, and about this entire CUP process and the accessory buildings and exactly what we govern things by. But I think that the time to do that will be when we open this to public comments, or when we discuss this at the next council meeting. Any other comments? All right. I think we're ready for a vote.
I need a motion.
I'm second.
Councilmember Hannah? Yes. Grunmeyer? Yes. Hoffman? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Newton? Yes. Mayor Bash?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to item, regular meeting. Ted and Robin E.
No, my reason for pulling it is I want to thank EDAC and Scott DeRosa there for putting all the hard work into this thing and trying to put this together. A lot of residents have commented that we need a certified farmers market, and I appreciate Scott and all his work he did for that, and I just want to recognize him for that. Even though I know it's going to be a tough road, we got to see how this thing is going to go. All right, thank you.
Robin?
And with that being said, I have some questions regarding the farmers market. The first one is, it mentions in one of the statements about that Norco folks can participate if they go through the CDFA and get their appropriate licensing and things like that. My question is, will EDAC be working with those residents that are so inclined to do that, or facilitate that process with them?
Well, let me address that, and thank you for bringing that up. Keep in mind that everything regarding this is a little fluid right now. We're deferring a lot of the details until we bring on a professional manager. But in our research, that has come up as something that it can indeed be a benefit in terms of engaging the local community. You want to have a predominance of professional farmers, but you can make room for a couple of vendors that are local people that happen to grow the greatest figs in their backyard, and as long as they get licensed properly, as I say, that can be a great way to really engage the public and help them recognize, that a farmer's market is not just about finding great food, but also creating a sense of community.
Okay, then my other question was going to be more towards the operation of the market. Two questions. Is it going to be a seasonal event where it's only held during the summer, or are you looking at year-round? And then second part of that, rain or shine, is that a contingency as well?
Again, based on our preliminary research and speaking to some of the more successful markets in the area and throughout Southern California, we envision this as a weekly event, 52 weeks of the year. Rain or shine, these issues can be revisited. And we also see it as EDAC in its research, they feel very strongly that this should be a standalone event. We talked about combining it with other events, things that might draw people, concerts in the park, that kind of thing. And based on the feedback we were getting from professionals, this is really something that should succeed or fail on its own as a destination for what it is, without having to entice people with some of the other activity, which many of these professional managers have indicated is often just a distraction. I know this concept has been attempted before in Norco, but it was never really professionally managed. Besides, thinking has changed. Our culture has changed a little bit. We're more and more focused on eating better, staying healthy. California has this incredible agricultural heritage, and the family farmers are really a great way to introduce the public to that. So, people are always looking for better produce. Sometimes it's difficult to find in a large supermarket that carries commercially grown produce. So this is an opportunity to really expand people's horizons, and as I say, really get to know their neighbors and exchange recipes, whatever.
Okay, last question, and you are correct. There's definitely a renaissance for healthy eating and locally grown and all that kind of stuff in our industry. My last question would be, has there been kind of a window of opportunity set for how long the city is willing to make this go for it to be successful or fail on its own? Only because I have been involved in numerous attempts at this in town, and one of them was certified because we had to get certified at the high school, so I'm familiar with the process. So I'm just wondering how long you guys are going to give this an opportunity to fly.
And I think I appreciate you saying that, because it's important to be realistic about this. There's no guarantee of its success, and I think the cost will be certainly a major factor in determining how long we can give it before it's before it gains traction. But I would say certainly, we anticipate beginning in May, if all things go well, and if hopefully it'll be successful, at least financially sustainable through the end of summer.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions regarding this issue?
Mayor Bash, I
Yes.
just want to note I do have cards on this
All right,
item.
card. Opening public comments.
Scott DeRosa.
It's the man himself.
To no surprise, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give you a perspective from two aspects, from EDAC member and from residents of the neighborhood or the community. All right, as far as being an EDAC member, we spent months investigating, asking the questions to professional managers, to property owners, and even community members to find out what it is that the community wants, and talking to the managers and property owners what worked, and were the property managers pleased with the results of having a farmers market on their properties in several different cities surrounding the Inland Empire, not just one. So we spent a lot of time, and we feel as though that we gathered a lot of important information and put that together that would make this a very successful event based on what we learned and what it takes to make it successful, and eliminating all the other stuff that will cause it to fail. Okay? With regards to a perspective from a resident, many people that I've talked to, including neighbors, clients, etc., all have that same agenda to where they want to feed their family more healthy. They want to be able to buy produce that is not genetically modified and just across the board healthier. However, we don't have that opportunity here in Norco. For us to get that type of produce, we have to go outside the area. I spoke to two mothers today and asked them where do they buy their produce. Both of them said that one buys in Ontario, going out of her way a little bit, getting off work. Another one actually goes to Corona because she'll shop at Sprouts or Henry's because she can't buy what she wants in our local grocery stores. We don't have a Henry's or a Sprouts or a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's, so people are having to go outside the area and spend the money elsewhere to go ahead and buy this stuff. Even for my own family, we order it to be shipped to get that type of item, or stop off at the farmers market over at the Galleria on the way home from church on Sundays. But it would be very nice if we'd had it locally. Everybody I've talked to all support the idea. They would be more than happy to be buying their produce locally and not having to travel extra distances, even spending extra time to try to get to these other destinations to get what they want. And so, again, I think it's a great opportunity for the city, something that this rural atmosphere should have, and I think it would be very beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Michael DeRosa.
Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council, for allowing me a moment to address you regarding this. I realize that several of the comments have already been made, but I'll just go ahead and report from the list of items. Certainly in Norco, there is not a wide selection for supermarkets to shop. Stater Brothers is a great store, and we certainly appreciate what they do for our community. But in terms of alternatives for shopping, it's very limited. Going, which Stater Brothers do you want to shop at? Also, there's unique items that are often found in farmers markets that you can't find in chain stores. So having that opportunity is valuable, I think, for residents. Also, it's a positive way for economic development with the possibilities of, with our half-acre lots, and growing our own food and maybe engaging with the community differently. It provides an opportunity to build our small town, build our sense of community here. I think that's one of the most important things, actually, is to build a sense of community since we have a unique opportunity with the size. I remember 35 years ago in college when I studied geography, my professor said the ideal city is probably about 30,000, and we're close to that. So we really do have an ideal population number, and we have the opportunity to engage in positive ways. There's no question about farmers markets. It's a positive event. It's a positive activity. In any city that I've ever shopped at, it's always been a healthy, positive part of city life. And here in Norco, we have an opportunity to develop our agricultural curriculum. I'm an educator, and my kids go to Norco school, so I like the idea of the city providing an opportunity to shape the curriculum of our high school and our schools by our children and our high school students participating in a farmer's market in some way. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Don't be a stranger. Haven't seen you in a while. Anybody else?
I'm sorry, that concludes public comments.
Close public comments, bring it back to council. Any other comments on this item? Motion to approve, I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'm sorry, the motion was made
by me.
Okay, and seconded by Councilmember Grunmeyer. Councilmembers Hannah, yes. Grunmeyer, yes. Hoffman, yes. Mayor Pro Tem Newton, yes. Mayor Bash.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to public comments, I'll remind you at this time you have 3 minutes and you're allowed to speak on something that is not on the agenda.
Glenn Hedges.
Hi, Glenn. It's nice to see you in front of that microphone, buddy.
Oh, I hate being here.
Oh.
Honorable Mayor, council members, thanks for letting me talk tonight. I'm going to have to bring to your attention a dangerous condition that has occurred on our horse trails. At the corner of 6th Street and Temescal, there's a construction going on there, and they've just placed the concrete for the curbs, gutters, and the driveway entrance on Temescal. They've used the standard detail that was on their approved drawings to put the apron in for the driveway. Well, that worked really well on 6th Street, where you had a 6-foot parkway. On Temescal, the parkway is, for the whole street, is 36 inches. This leaves 3 to 4 foot of the concrete apron in the horse trail. Now, on, do you have the packet that do you, Councilman, you have this? Okay, that's what I'm talking about, that. And there's a couple of photos there too. I took some pictures of the situation. On August 31st, about 5:30, I met there with the city engineer and the contractor, and I explained to him my concerns. And the contractor right away took a look at it and he says, well, I can saw cut this out. This ain't no big deal. But the whole thing is, the contractor put it in according to the approved drawings that were approved by the city, so the contractor would want to be reimbursed for his work, which you can't really blame him for that. He's a businessman. So we discussed it for a while, and the city engineer pointed out that it's a 60-foot cross-section street, 60 foot across. And the horse trail is not in the right place according to his sketch, because his sketch shows a 6-foot parkway, which does not exist there. We don't have a 6-foot parkway anywhere along Temescal Avenue. That's why I referred him to the city standard 705, which I put on the front sheet. You can see that. On there it says it varies. The parkway will vary. Either type of curb, flat face curb or a road curb. And this dimension is to be determined by city to maintain a standard trail width in the area. On the other hand, if we were to move the horse trail over to match the detail for a cross section, I think it's the third photo, it would show that the horse trail then would have a more dangerous situation even than the concrete, because then you would have telephone poles with guy wires and utility boxes right in the middle of the horse trail. So at the end of the conversation, the engineer said that he had to go back and talk to his boss, so I can understand that, and he would give us a call the next day. Well, we're still waiting for the call. We haven't gotten a call back. This is a dangerous situation. It's a liability on our city. It can be easily corrected. And I always look at this as being it's better to go ahead and take care of the problem, and instead of just trying to take care of it after it becomes a real problem when someone really gets hurt. Horses with steel shoes on concrete just don't mix. This is a situation that's waiting to happen, and I would hope that you would take these pictures that I provided you and go and take a look at the situation for yourselves, and then drive down 2 doors. There's another building being built there, and they're getting ready to do their landscaping. So my question is this going to be another situation developing? Has anyone from the city talked to these people there about holding it back? If you look across the street, on the southeast corner, there's a veterinary clinic there. Now, when they put in their concrete apron, they held it back. They did not extend it into the concrete. So it can be done, and it has been done many places in Norco.
Glenn, you know, at this point, unfortunately, what I'm going to do is you're good. Don't worry. I'm glad to see you back. What we're going to do, though, is to have Chad look at this, and then I'm sure that we'll all follow up and discuss, get with Chad, and let's find out what's going on exactly and how we can solve this problem.
Yeah, I'm not abreast of this issue, but I'll certainly give the gentleman my card.
I'm sure you're going to get 5 calls tomorrow.
I'll talk with Sam tomorrow. I imagine that's probably who we met with.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Would this go to planning or would it go? Yeah, go to him. Stay out of this, Hoffman.
Thank you. I'm sorry it went over.
No, you're great. I'm glad to see you back.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bonnie Slager.
Hi.
Hi, Bonnie.
I'd like to thank all of you that came to our candidates last Thursday night. Appreciate the support. And I wanted to thank Brian and Chad and Terry for helping us with NHA. Yesterday we completed a trail project which checks one thing off of our 10 most needed trail improvement list. And so now when you drive on Corydon from River into the city, you'll see that there's new trail fencing, and the weeds are cleaned up and the trash is picked up. And so there was about 6 of us. Pat Overstreet now knows how to mix concrete. So she has a new job skill in case Public Works needs somebody. And so I thought it was really nice to do it now, since we're going to have the groundbreaking pretty soon for the new shopping center, which is Kitty Corner. So thank you for your guys' help, and we're real proud of it. Thanks.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Eddie Bash.
Greg, you're going to conduct this.
I don't need to, Kevin.
You don't?
No, if you'd like me to. Hi, Betty. How are you?
Hi.
You have 3 minutes.
Honorable Mayor and Council.
As you are aware, I have now sent each of you several letters stating why I object to the granting of the CUP to my neighbor for the proposed metal industrial building. We as residents are entitled to a fair process when fighting for our property rights, and the only document that we have to ensure this is the municipal code. If that rule book written and fought for over 50 years is not followed, then we as citizens are subject to decisions stripping us of our rights influenced by political pressure, opinions not founded in law, and just plain laziness. I have outlined in the letter sent many problems with the CUP process and exactly how my rights have been denied and how submission errors violating the municipal code have been allowed to become the norm. I will never believe the planning department took into consideration the impact this massive structure would have on our school and the neighborhood as a whole. Some people think I am objecting to the CUP because I don't like accessory buildings. I really don't care for the industrial type metal buildings that are being approved, but that is not why I'm objecting to this building. This building will hugely impact our playgrounds and classrooms on two sides. The space they want to put the building in and are being given special permission to do so is not in an open field somewhere. It's actually going to be from the playgrounds and the classrooms about from here to that wall, and will go up 20 feet. Worse, our rural environment will be gone, and a massive building that size will create, there's no way around it, drainage problems that I have no confidence will be managed. Water flows downhill, and then there is at least a 5-foot drop on my neighbor's property from the street to the back of his property. Unfortunately, there really isn't legal recourse to your decision. So the question is, given what has been submitted and not submitted to you, has staff, the Planning Commission, and Council seen to it, been allowed to see to it, that a just hearing process has taken place? My opinion is certainly no. And based on that, I am asking for a reconsideration of the issued CUP. I know that there will be those who will object, and they will make claims of unfairness, denial of property rights, and they will wage unrelenting attacks on my family. But I am confident that every single one of you realize there is a real problem here and a lot of confusion regarding the CUP process. In my opinion, should this CUP not be reconsidered, there's a lot more at stake than a person's right to build a metal building. We are condoning a loss of what will well be our most precious right, due process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bash.
Robert Leonard.
I'm speaking to you right now as a resident of the city of Norco. As some of you are aware of, I wasn't going to say anything tonight until a situation happened prior to me coming here to the city council meeting. As some of you are aware of, last Saturday night at 4444 Hillside Avenue, a gentleman decided to throw a party. This party had over 200 people. The street from basically middle of 5th and 6th Street on Hillside all the way to River Road was packed with young people. Cars in the horse trail, cars too deep in front of my house, people urinating in my yard. This party went on till 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. The house at 4444 Hillside is a nuisance. I have my wife on Friday night called the police at 3 o'clock in the morning because of the noise. We have called the police numerous times, from riding dirt bikes up and down the street, riding them in the horse trail, boom boom, music being blared out of their garage, their constant smoking marijuana in their garage, the parties that they throw, and everything else. I know that the police do the best, or the sheriffs do the best they possibly can, but I'm sorry, when my house, or where I live, in my living room is over 100 feet away, when it feels like it's shaking my windows, and I can hear it, and usually at night I have my hearing aids out, and it's blaring through my head, we're over 100 feet away. Sorry to tell you, this is what we get from the deputies. Well, we drove by there, and it wasn't 100, we could hear the music, but it wasn't 100 feet away. We can't do anything. The man has threatened my life, and it is on record that what he told me is he was going to effing kill me. Okay? Now on Sunday mid-morning, I wasn't there, but car door got kicked in. They jumped the gentleman and his wife with brass knuckles because there's neighbors that all said it. This has got to end. The kid taunts me constantly, and normally it's with 5 or 6 people. He thinks I'm stupid enough to go over there and deal with it, but needless to say, I have a little bit more brains than that. This has got to end. What is it going to take to make it stop? Somebody's going to get hurt. Okay, these kids are a nuisance. They taunt people. Somebody is going. So what is that going to take? Is it going to take somebody, these idiots, to pull a gun on somebody and be stupid enough to shoot them, or be stupid enough to take a baseball bat to somebody's head before something is done? I know they're trying, but again, real quick, I got to go. I hear it. The reason why I came here tonight is tonight they're running their dirt bikes up and down the street. They wave at you. You know, a 4x4 truck in the middle of the horse trail. Okay, when the police show up, we call, an hour later they show up, they're gone. Or and they're smart enough to know when they see lights going on that they shut it down. This needs to end. Okay, this has gone on for a year now. Please help me and help the neighbors, and you can talk to them to make this end. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Eric, will you look into that for us? I'm sure you already have.
Yeah, absolutely. And just so everyone knows, we have cited that residence for the parties as well as motorcycles on the roadways. So we know the issues are there. We've taken action, and we continue to take action.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Jeff Cahan.
Hey, Jeff.
5:30 in the morning comes pretty early, but I want to commend the city and the staff that were at the fire station on 9/11 at 5:30 in the morning to set up and present a ceremony to remember our first responders and our citizens that were lost 15 years ago. I love this town. Nobody can ever say that this town does not support its veterans or its first responders, our law enforcement. It was a terrible not a celebration, but just a remembrance to have to do that. I also appreciate that we had representatives from surrounding cities at our event, and then our representatives went to other cities' events. We have a nice symbiotic working relationship with our surrounding cities. And it's just a great time to reflect on what we're going through even today. But that day, it was an early time, and we had a nice group of citizens that turned out to show up and support our country. And I was very proud when we all stood up to do our Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of this meeting. Norco is the kind of town where everybody stands up, and that's important. So thank you for your support.
Thanks, Jeff.
Mayor, that concludes public comments.
Closing public comments. Councilman Hoffman's made a suggestion. Let me run this by council. If we move, since we have so many high school kids who are anxiously with bated breath waiting to see if they can sit up here with us. By the way, they don't throw things, so it's okay. But maybe we should move 6B now. Do you guys have a problem with that?
You gotta get home early.
Yeah. Are you okay with that, Greg? All right, I gotta have consensus if that's okay. Is okay? All right, so what we're gonna do is gonna move 6B to now, and then we will pick up the rest of the agenda afterwards. So who has this one? City Clerk, yeah.
I'm sorry, give me just a moment while the PowerPoint is brought up.
Sorry, blame Hoffman.
Just bring it up.
Yeah, I know.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, this item is to consider appointments to the Norco Youth Advisory Council. And as you know, back in July, the City Council approved the formation of the Norco Youth Advisory Council. The purpose of this advisory council is to promote community involvement for the youth. They also will propose programs, projects, and other items as related to the youth in this community. As you can see, there's other items there that they will be reviewing. The requirements for this particular advisory council is stated in City Council Resolution 2016-52. Applicants must be enrolled in grades 9 through 12, either from Norco High or John F. Kennedy Middle College High School. And then there's other items there: never been convicted of a felony, not employed by the city, and also must take the oath of office. The recruitment period for the Norco Youth Advisory Council began on August 18, 2016 through the release of a public notice. And that was once the school started and they were established, we wanted to send that out to the schools. The deadline to submit applications was September 13th at 6 p.m. Recruitment materials were provided to both schools. We also did make personal visits to both schools to advertise this particular advisory council. During the recruitment period, a total of 18 applications were received in the city clerk's office. One application was disqualified, and so before you have 17 applications to consider. I just want to note, we also, after the close of the recruitment period, we did receive an additional 6 applications. But again, those are not part of your packet for consideration. And there you have before you the 17 applicants, their grades, and the school that they are from. So staff's recommendation is for the City Council to consider the applications before you and make 9 appointments to this advisory council. I'm available for questions if you have any. I also want to note that we do have, the students were notified, and I believe some are here today to speak and share with you the merits of their qualifications.
Cheryl, just as a, where is the, I don't seem to have the voting.
I'm sorry, the ballot?
Yeah, I don't think I have it.
The ballot? You have
on the dais for you.
Oh, they just passed it out? Oh. I can vote. All right, so first off, it's really a pleasure to have you all here. And one of the things that we can only pick so many, and which is really going to make you nervous, but please try not to be nervous. Just on my own experience, and I suspect everybody here has had that. I've been 3 times not selected for a commission. Mr. Newton was once not elected, which was one of the great tragedies of all time because he's a great councilman. I'm sure Berwin and Ted, we've all had experiences where we don't get picked. I'm a little angry with Councilman Grunmeyer for putting us into this, because if it were up to me, it would everybody. Because I'm really impressed with your resumes. So that said, how do we want to proceed with this? Does council have any ideas?
We do have a few cards from some of the
so do you want
that are present.
So do you want to have cards, or do you want to have each one maybe introduce themselves?
The ones that filled out cards will get to speak to you.
Okay, so now if you want to speak to council, what they're going to do is they're going to make you fill out a card. So if you very quickly go to the front and want to address the board, which I would suggest you do, go out and get a card and then bring it up here to the city clerk. All right, so we're now going to open the comments. Here we go.
All right, first person, Ashley Tejeda.
Hi, Ashley. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good evening, my name is Ashley Tejada and I'm applying for a position on the Norco Youth Advisory Council. It is my understanding that as of July 20th, 2016, the Norco City Council approved the formation of the Norco Youth Advisory Council. After reading over the expectations for this position, one word came to mind: perspective. I feel I'm qualified for this position due to my well-rounded perspective as an individual, primarily due to my involvement and commitment to this community. My commitment has been demonstrated through varied experiences within Norco High School, such as this year's president of ASB, an active American Cancer Society member, and head of different community projects. Giving back to the community through service-based projects has created in me an awareness of how unique Norco is, and I have developed a desire to be a part of the positive changes that I continue to witness year to year. As student body president at Norco High School, I interact with community members frequently. One of the projects I'm most proud of was one in March of 2016. I played a large role in organizing a Santa Ana riverbed cleanup in the Eastville area. I also took part in a community health fair hosted at Corona High, and I truly had a moment of inspiration once I realized how powerful giving back to the community can be. At Norco High, and as a community, we like to say that we are Norco. I would like to take that motto and put it into action. I'd like to not just be yelling it at football games, but instead feel I am a part of the positive changes happening within the community I live. I feel that this position would allow me to put my thoughts and plans into action. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Brent Kavianian.
How are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good, welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to start off, thank you very much for this opportunity, and just a little bit about myself before I start. I am actually born and raised in Norco, so I have a very deep connection with the beautiful city, and I really think you guys think the city has done a phenomenal job focusing on the equestrian side, but I would also like to try and help and focus on the other side of Norco as well, because there are many there's a big part of Norco that isn't into horses or animals or agriculture, and I would like to focus on that side like mainly, but also of course incorporate all aspects of the city. And I really would like to bring in like a teen center so that we can really focus on getting the community together as a youth and bringing them to realize what we are as a city. Like what Ashley said, we are Norco, and that is a big part because many cities, larger cities, aren't as united. And I think that is really a different aspect, if you will, of Norco. And I really want to just focus on that and help the city become even better with the adults and the youth connecting. That's all.
Great, thanks, Brent.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Nope, not at the moment.
All right, thank you.
I'll have some questions.
Oh.
What would you think is the biggest gap that we have between with the youth of Norco? That what would you like to see promoted the most to bring us closer together and help the youth in the city?
You mean like the connection between the youth and the adults, or
just your thoughts? What are we lacking?
I really think we're lacking more contemporary, like how do I say it? Contemporary structures like a teen center or a skate park, because we put so much into equestrian facilities, but like there's kids that aren't into riding horses. Me, that I love to skate, I love to surf, and obviously we can't have a beach, but
They're working on one at Silver Lakes.
yeah, it's much like that. But just if we're able to incorporate that into the city, then all around it will become something phenomenal, because we have this part of Norco, the equestrian, and then we could bring in this, and it would just mold into something terrific.
Thank you, Brent. You got to be careful. I graduated from Norco High School in 1880. Am I not contemporary?
Danielle Smith.
Hi, Danielle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good. All right. Good evening, council members. Hi, everybody else. My name's Danielle Smith, and I'm a senior at Norco High School this year. I've always been active in the, well, not active, I've grown up in the Norco community, and I've always been a part of it since I was very little. And over the past few years, I've really seen the community grow and expand as a whole, and it's really impressed me. Over the summer, I was the Norco High School representative for Girls State put on by the American Auxiliary Legion. And I learned my week there really opened me up to our governments, statewide, citywide, and even nationwide. I was just mesmerized by all the hard work that council members put into everything. And when I heard about the Youth Advisory Council, I feel like this would be a fantastic opportunity to put myself in a position where I'll be able to open up to how government works even more, also with making policies and getting your ideas out to the people. Being a part of the community would really help me, and I really want to get my ideas out to everyone, and I want to hear ideas from other people too. So, and I'm Norco High School, and at Norco High School we all have a lot of pride for our school and our community. I'm on the golf team there, and I love my team so much. They're such a wonderful group of people, the coaches and teachers. They're just all such wonderful people. I really want to be a part of them. I want to make our community even better, because even though we're always pushing to be better, there's no such thing as perfect, and there's always just room for innovation. So,
do you have any questions for Danielle? Good job.
Thank you.
Just in case, any questions for Ashley? We didn't get to ask her. Anything? All right. Just in case, I wanted to make sure you had a chance. Thank you, Danielle.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Axel Alvarez.
Hey, Axel, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good.
That's awesome. Okay. I just want to start off, everyone. Okay. My name is Axel Alvarez, and I am a senior at Norco High School. I believe I would be a great member of the Norco Youth Advisory Council because I possess the qualities of leadership that would help lead this council to success. I am also very involved in the community. I have been a part of FFA for about 3 years, and it has opened me to a lot of opportunities to help serve and help the community, which I love to do. Another reason why I believe I would be a great candidate and overall overly qualified is because I am on the Norco's High School Site Council, in which I help advise and inform the administration at my school on how we could better improve the campus of Norco. So by being elected for this position, it would be quite similar in a form of me having to inform you guys and advise you guys on a much larger scale. And because of this, I would want you guys to choose me to be on one of the members of the Norco Youth Advisory Council and be able to represent the youth of Norco. Thank you.
Is that FFA thing that animal thing?
Yeah. Yeah, and plants and animals.
And flowers?
Yeah. And flowers.
Flowers,
yes.
God.
It's a really great program. I love it.
And you're a Key Club member.
What was that? Yeah, Key Club.
So you're a Kiwanian in training.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Any questions for Axel?
Sure, I'll ask him. I got one for you.
Okay.
So, no, I like this.
No, it's great.
So under your specific qualities.
Okay.
So to give you an indication what it would be like to work with this group, that you're a creative thinker and you would be open to any idea no matter how crazy.
Yeah.
What level of crazy are you talking about?
Well, obviously nothing too crazy, but I tend not to be narrow-minded. I'm very open-minded. I'm a free thinker, so I'm open to try out anything.
Even rooting for the Cubs?
No, not the Cubs.
Oh no, you gotta say no.
You were almost,
I mean, yes, the Cubs.
You were almost there, bud.
I take that back. You're welcome. Thank you.
Georgina Strojak.
Hi Georgina, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Georgina Strojak. I'm 16 years old and I'm a senior at Norco High School. I believe I should be elected for the Norco Youth Advisory Council because I am a good leader and I am very responsible. I have learned these two skills through various activities I had participated in with the Norco FFA and JROTC. Two examples of these events are Cadet Leadership Conference with JROTC and State Leadership Convention with FFA. During both events, I learned some qualities that I could better myself as a leader. I have also had various jobs where I was in charge of cleaning and feeding after people's horses. I've been doing this for about 6 years and it has given me a chance to show my responsibility. This has also helped me save up for college as I will hopefully be attending a 4-year university next fall. I would really like to be part of the Norco Youth Advisory Council because it will help me grow better as a leader, team member, and responsible young adult. I was born and raised in Norco, California, so this town is very important to me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be part of the council.
Do we have any questions for Georgina? I have one. What have you gotten from the junior ROTC? What's your rank?
I'm an airman, so it's right above the airman basic.
All right. Then what do you learn from that?
We learn how to be leaders and how to take commands. It taught me how to be responsible. Excuse me.
It's okay. What do you like better, FFA or ROTC?
FFA.
Very smart. Any other questions for this young lady? Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Young.
I'm bad. I know it. I'm sorry.
Just
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good.
Well, Council, thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm not applicant for the Youth Advisory Council because my interest in politics is immense in political structure and governance. In fact, it's been such a passion that since I was 6 years old, I've dreamed of nothing but politics and structure. Right. Most children my age or teenagers don't know policy making, don't know council, they really don't know how legislation's passed. I can help have a say in what my peers believe. I can listen to their opinions, I can discuss theirs. Now, I'm a sophomore at Norco High School. I play for basketball there, and I used to be in ROTC, but because of the fact you can only have 6 periods a day, they chose basketball over ROTC. Now, I found out about this council when I made a passionate speech to my chemistry class of how the classroom could have better resources, such as the environment and resources like textbooks and learning methods. Now, I am an honor student, formerly of IB, and I communicate well with my peers and adults. This can help in learning the viewpoints of not only my peers, but also adults, then I can mix them together and get the best result out of it. Now, since I was 6 years old, obviously it's the passion. I make yearly trips to Washington, D.C., just to see the Capitol and see where these great decisions are made, like here. I also, not only am I able to juggle my basketball obligations with my honors classes, I also am punctual and get everything done, no matter what, on time, efficiently as possible. Thank you, Council.
Any questions for Michael? What position do you play?
Play power forward and center, sir.
Wow, good. What kind of team you got this year?
We are, actually, tonight are the tryouts, so we're going to find out how it's going to shape up.
And you're here?
Yes, well, I'm a returning player, but we have spots in the team that are being filled tonight.
So you're above trying out. I got it. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael.
Celine Kabara.
Good evening, Council.
Hi, Celine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
So my name is Celine Kabara, and I am a senior at John F. Kennedy Middle College High School, and this is why I would like to be on the Norco Youth Advisory Council. Every few years, my parents take me to the country that they were raised in. This little country by the Mediterranean Sea is Lebanon. It's been such a pleasure to learn and to experience my culture and to be able to volunteer there as well. What has been disappointing to me there lately is the lack of organization. There's no government, no electricity, no water. In the past, I've had to shower with a bucket. The Lebanese people are willing to suffer without a government, but are not willing to stand up for their country, their people, their communities, their children. They aren't even willing to stand up for themselves. For me as a visitor over there, I've always wanted to do something about this situation. It hurts me that my kids and grandkids may not know the beautiful place they come from because it may not exist. However, it is difficult because the culture is very different. My disappointment overseas sparks an even larger fire in me to speak up for myself and for my peers in my own community. I've had to shower with a bucket in freezing water, and as a member of Norco's Youth Advisory Council, I will do everything in my being to ensure that the voice of my peers is heard. My application highlights much of my past experience and accomplishments, including my 2-year term as president of John F. Kennedy Middle College's School Site Council, and as president of my school's Muslim Student Union, vice president of its UNICEF and choral group. I'm also the coordinator of JFK's Middle College Day, which is a conference with the sole purpose of attracting younger students to our school. I would like to add that I am proud to say that I will be graduating from John F. Kennedy Middle College High School and from Norco Community College in June 2017. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate your consideration for the council.
Do we have any questions for this young lady? You know, I noticed the letter from your principal. Boy, you didn't even touch on a lot of the things you've done.
Well, I know that a lot of stuff is in my application from my past experience.
Just, yeah. And you speak two languages.
I am bilingual.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jessica Ocampo.
Hi, Jessica, how are you?
I'm sorry. Good evening. I'm good, thank you. Just a little bit nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. We're all old people. Well, everybody but them, I guess. So. Of course, you know, when I graduated from Norco High School, he graduated before me.
Okay.
But you have 3 Norco High graduates up here. Oh, how about that? And one from Texas, which is almost like Norco.
Any from JFK? No.
Okay. All right.
Hi, my name is Jessica Ocampo. I am a junior at John F. Kennedy Middle College High School, as well as a student at Norco College. As a student, I'm both hardworking and I work in both. I'm so sorry. I'm really, really nervous. I strive for my work to be both in quantity and quality, as well as having an open mind open to interpreting different ideas. So I am really cooperative in that sense. I'm currently a delegate for Renaissance, which is a program at my school, also known, Renaissance. It encourages students to, I'm sorry, I just have to make a quick comment. My voice sounds really weird in this microphone thing. I'm so sorry. It's just...
We're all used to it.
I am a delegate in Renaissance, which encourages students to work harder in order to achieve, and I am a delegate in Renaissance, which encourages students to work harder in school. We congratulate them on their academic achievements because we know that a lot of students seem really shy about being in a big school, and JFK is a small school, so we're allowed to really single out like those students, and we provide everyone with an achievement award. Usually we hand out, I'm part of the student committee, so we work with students as individuals. We give out deliveries every few months based on like a holiday, so we really congratulate them on their academic achievements. I'm also treasurer for I'm also treasurer for Speech and Debate Club, and I know it might not seem like I'm really good at speech because I'm really nervous. I'm so sorry, but I applied for treasurer because I want to learn more about budgets and more about money. So treasurer, I feel, would give me an opportunity to really explore that area. I am also a junior representative for Avid Student Council, being that I encourage students to take PSATs, take their SATs, and study and work hard. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for this young lady? So you know what you do, Renaissance. Why do you do it? Why you're so busy? What do you care about those kids for?
Well, in my personal experience, I tend to be really overshadowed sometimes, mostly because I'm short and I hide in crowds. So sometimes you need that extra push, and you need to know that someone is there behind you, recognizing your hard work as an individual, and having deliveries be sent to you, having funny puns, just connections to your own youth. It really helps. It helps you gain that feeling of being supported by students who maybe they might not know you, but they recognize that you're working hard in school and that you're really trying in both high school and college, being JFK, because you're both in high school and college, so you need to be recognized.
Any other questions? If you get a chance, you should try to hook up with that lady right there and talk to her a little bit, and talk to this gentleman. They're both financial wizards, so they'll know all about budgets, so maybe you can work something out that way.
Okay, that is really helpful. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Isabella, and I'm not even going to attempt to say her last name because I don't want to say it wrong. So we'll have you say it for us.
Good evening.
My name is Isabella Xiao, and I come from JFK Middle College High School. And today I want to apply for the Norco Youth Advisory Council. So to begin, I'm part of JFK's yearbook, and I'm the head page designer for yearbook. And through yearbook, I learned to communicate and cooperate with other people to make, because in yearbook we really need communication in our group because everyone's on different jobs, like page designer, photographer, so we need communication to get things going. And I'm also in JFK's Key Club, and I've accumulated over 25 hours of service through my high school career. some of the qualities that I think will qualify for this council include my openness to thoughts, other people's thoughts, and I'm always on time with my work, so I'll turn stuff in on time. And over the past summer, I spent my summer at Stanford University's high school program, and in there I got to meet a lot of people from over the world, and it really broadened my perspective, seeing people from different countries and how they react to this new environment in the United States. And I think in there I really learned to communicate more with people and just to get to know like the world better, because I've never like interacted with people from other countries. And
do we have any questions for this young lady? So where are you from?
I'm from Corona.
Corona?
Yeah.
But what's your accent?
Oh, Chinese.
There you go. All right, good. Do you speak 2 languages?
Yeah, Mandarin and English.
Wow. Well, good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
So that's all the cards. Anybody here who is applying for this that may want to speak? Going once. Don't be shy. Going twice. Closing. All right. So now, how do you want us to do this?
You have voting ballots before you, so if you want to go ahead and consider those names, vote for 9, and then pass your ballots. Please print your name and sign the ballots, and then pass them down.
Kevin?
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank Cheryl and Diane for all their work on this, and saw the pictures of the 2 of you at the schools and the little table and that. You guys did a lot of work, and I think we all appreciate it. And we need to blame Robin for for the rest of it.
So Cheryl, now how will this work though? We'll have one at each of the next meetings, for the next 9 meetings, correct? Or how will it work?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How will it work in terms of how many kids? Will we have a new one each week, or each 2 weeks, or how will it, or 2, or?
For what? Oh yeah, no, this is an advisory similar to city commissions and the EDAC.
But then one will sit up here with us?
No. This is just the advisory group of 9, and they'll meet and consider youth programs, activities, and make recommendations, not only to the city council, but maybe to the appropriate commission.
Can we sit in on their meetings?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Mayor, I just want to say, I think they should sit up here. We got 4 more chairs, and it'll make Greg look taller.
No, I thought his chair was broken over there.
I do want to, if anybody is, I want to really congratulate not only the students, but all the teachers, and there's a lot of nice letters from the staff with these kids. You guys did the right thing. You went out, you filled the application out, you got these letters, recommendations, and I really think they did an excellent job on them. So even like I said, like the mayor said, if you don't get selected, you went through the process, and that's part of it. But I really want to thank the staff at JFK and at Norco High. They have made this really tough. This is a tough bunch of kids and decide which 9 to select. So Robin, you can sit and take a bow, because I see all these FFA kids. So
I would like to talk to all the young adults out there that put their names and their applications in. Thank you very much for going through the process. I'm very proud of you all. You all came up here and presented yourselves quite well. There are several adults that come up here and are just as nervous as you guys were, and you handled yourselves very professionally, and you did a wonderful job. So thank you for that. As a council person, I am proud of the young people, because I know you are a capable group, and I know you can do things, and I'm excited that we're bringing you all on so that we can put into action for our whole community what I already know that you do. So thank you so much for being here tonight and participating in this process. And again, I can't say enough, I'm so proud of all of you for getting up here in front of us and saying your parts and answering questions and putting up with a tiny little bit of harassment from your council members up here, but it's greatly appreciated.
by the way, Mayor, JFK High School was the Crest Drive-In when I was going to high school.
Yeah, me too. too.
And before that, it was a turkey ranch.
Yeah. Gobbler's Knob.
Yeah.
Gobbler's Knob. In fact, the foundation of the house is still there. Let's take a 5-minute break. Let's go ahead and take a break. Let's bring council back to so it would appear. Go ahead.
Mayor, a majority is required to appoint a member, and so the council, based on the voting, has agreed on 8 applicants, and so before you is another voting ballot, and I need each of you to vote for one applicant. Print your name and sign the ballot, please, and return it to me. Any of the council members need to see their previous ballot? The ballot before you, the second round of voting, has names crossed off of those that received majority vote.
We're going to be here all night, I can tell. All night.
A majority has not been reached. We'll have to do third round of voting. Mayor, would the council like to consider a verbal vote on this last applicant, or would you prefer?
You really want us to do that in front of all these kids?
I'm offering it. I can pass out another ballot.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
It's obvious we need.
Maybe if this vote doesn't, then we will do a quick closed session in the back room. We will show them how politics is really done. I'm just kidding. Oh my God, there's a tape going. I can see that now. Oh my God. Oh.
You may change your vote if you like, or again, and that was the reason maybe for a verbal vote, to maybe have a discussion.
Yeah. All right. I like that idea. Make it 10.
We need an odd number advisory council.
Make it 11. Hey, I'm all for inclusive. Didn't you hear these kids? Come together, kumbaya. Okay, let's go ahead, and I guess we're just going to have an open discussion. Very sorry. Can you do me a favor? If you're here for the position and you didn't speak, can you raise your hand? So you all spoke. You're the brave ones. No? No. No? No, they didn't all. All right, who didn't speak? It's okay if you didn't. It's okay. I just want to see your face. Oh, you know, I can see a little hand over Scott LaRosa's left shoulder. And what's your name? Come up here. Come here. Come on. It's quite obvious the way this is going. You have to, like, smack your jabbers, you know? So where do you go to high school?
Norco High School.
That's a good thing. There's 3 of us up here. What grade are you in?
9th.
Can you tell me just a little bit about yourself?
I'm on the FFA.
The animal thing again?
I'm on the Green Hand Officer team. I'm the secretary. And I'm on ROTC, same as Georgina Strojek. And
what's your rank?
I'm Airborne Basic. And I'm in finances there. And I'm also in CE, which is cleaning up the room and making sure everything's nice and tidy. And I play softball for a girls softball league. So, yeah.
That's good. What position?
Shortstop and second.
So you got a good arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Do you play travel ball?
No.
Not yet, huh? Well, good. And what's your name again?
Laramie.
Everybody got that? This is Laramie. Any questions for Ms. Huffman? We got some questions here. See, I'm doing you a favor here.
You're, I think, the youngest applicant for this position. So as a freshman, what do you think would be your role on the advisory committee, and why did you apply?
My role would probably be maybe a treasurer, maybe.
Not necessarily a specific title, but what would you bring to the table that's different than a senior would bring to the table?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Do you think the same as a senior?
Maybe. I don't know.
Probably not. Do you think there's a difference between what a 13 or a 14-year-old student or resident of Norco wants versus what an 18-year-old resident of Norco would want? Yeah. So I think that's one of your qualities that you would probably bring, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Laramie.
Any questions, Ted?
I'm going to have to spade because he makes fun of FFA.
I love FFA. I was in FFA.
The one thing she didn't tell us, Laramie, how long were you in Calf Riders? Or the California Junior Bull Riders?
Since I was 5.
5? Yeah. You've ridden on the sheep?
Yes.
You started at the bulls, little calves, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you bring something else to the table, right? All right. Don't forget those are good points. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Greg? She's your size. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Weren't you a shortstop? Were you a shortstop?
No, I was just right.
All right. Anybody else out there that didn't speak? Looks like y'all spoke, huh? Okay. Do we have a vote? I've got mine. I did. You know, if there's I'd love letters to go out to everybody, and let's say you're not picked, that give them our phone numbers or ways to contact us, because I know that we can find things for every one of these kids to do, I'm certain. So if you're all agreeable, we'll send each kid a letter and say, you know, even though you weren't picked, there's other things to do, and contact us, and we'll put you in touch with Gina or Brian or Andy or Chad or Steve and put you to work.
Okay, Mayor, members of the City Council, we've reached 9 appointments here. Let me go ahead and announce the names. Brent Cavanian, Danielle Smith, Michael Young, Jessica Ocampo, Celine Cabarra, Ashley Tejada, Georgina Strojek, Axel Alvarez, and Laramie Huffman. Congratulations.
So, did you hear what you were counting over there? We'd like to have every applicant maybe sent a letter and let them know that we would love for them to contact us, whether they're selected or not, that we will find things for them to do. Okay? Okay, going back to the agenda, going to 5A, ordinance number 1007, second reading. I'll turn this over to the city attorney.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of California adopting modifications to the Water Conservation Program and amending Section 1404720, Code Change 2016-04.
I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Council members Hoffman, Grunmeyer, Hannah, Mayor Pro Tem Newton, Mayor Bash.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to 6A, discussion regarding removal of dead/dying trees by Southern California Edison, Director of Public Works.
The city clerk is handing out a copy of the PowerPoint that we prepared for this item. As you may recall, during budget discussions, we had outlined that as part of the budget process that we, and when it came to tree maintenance, that we had issues there related to the fact that we have obviously a pretty robust urban forest, but we also don't have sufficient funds to maintain the level we would like of tree maintenance throughout the city. You know, mainly creating a schedule so that we can routinely get to all the trees within a certain time frame. You know, maybe 5 years or 6 year schedule, so that we're being more active and proactive in our tree maintenance. We're pretty much we highlight certain areas based off of complaints or customer issues, and then we focus on certain areas that we know are commonly problems from trees that are aggressively grow and remove those trees. But you know, it's reasonable to say there's areas in our city that we simply don't or have not even gotten to yet in some areas. Part of that discussion was pointing out we had a pretty significant amount of dead or dying trees that in the case was at least over 600 that have been classified by West Coast arborists as issues. And the primary issue with that is that they pose a safety issue at some point, whether it's falling limbs, trees that fall apart during heavy winds, they just become weak and fall apart. So that was an issue we brought up, and because of that, and through a request by the city manager in the budget, we were provided additional funding during this year to help at least start that process of removing some of the dead and dying trees. Our normal budget's about $80,000. We got an additional $90,000 to help do additional tree trimming, but also really start and take a jump start on trying to remove some of the stockpile of dead and dying trees. Recognizing that it's not going to settle the issue because obviously we have over 600. We needed to look at other avenues that we can start to get some of those trees removed. One of those efforts was recognizing that we do have a potential partner out there to help remove these trees, which is Southern California Edison, who actively does their own trimming under their right-of-way in where the electrical lines are, power lines are, and recognizing that we felt we had a significant impact by those past tree trimming activities. A lot of the trees that were on our list of 600 or more were within the Edison right-of-way. So we began discussions with Edison. There had been discussions in the past. Edison had graciously offered and has removed a bundle of trees at a time. I think our most recent one, was maybe about 40 trees that they did. But we didn't have as a long-term commitment from them to continually do that till those trees that we felt were impacted by Edison's activities have been addressed. So what we focused on at this time is to really lay out the story to Southern California Edison, talk with them, and see what we can do to see what they can do on a long-term basis to remove some of those dead and dying trees that we would otherwise have to fund directly and that they can do on our behalf. So this presentation kind of outlines the issues related to that. So our current tree inventory, we have over 10,000 trees in our system. Again, as indicated, we have about 600 trees that were classified for removal. And those are either dead, dying, diseased, or damaged in some way. The estimated cost to complete the removal of all those trees is estimated between $500,000 to $600,000. The price varies based off of the diameter breast of the tree and the height of the tree. So a precise count we don't have, but we're pretty reasonable. It's going to be between $500,000 to $600,000. So, and usually it's about $600 to $1,000 per tree. So it's a pretty hefty number. Obviously, our budget just to try to remove trees the additional funds was $90,000. Not all that was planned for tree removal. We were going to allocate about $50,000 to do tree removal. The other funds, additional that we got, were going to be for additional tree trimming because we wanted to get to some other areas we haven't gotten to in a while. So of that amount of 600 plus trees, we tentatively identified about 314 dead or dying trees that were in the SCE right-of-way area that we wanted to sit down and talk with them about, say, listen, what can we do about these? And I just want to give a little brief history about SCE and their practices. SCE has a legal right to maintain and trim the trees in their right-of-way for the power lines. It should be noted that they don't do this for aesthetics or health. It's simply for safety purposes. They need to make sure those trees are not touching or posing a risk to the power lines. So, to be candid, they're a process where they're pretty blunt in what they do. They either chop them or they trim them going around, trying to train them to go around the power line area. So there's not a lot of time or effort put into trying to keep them pretty. It's simply a chop and move on. And again, the higher voltage trees, the greater distance they want to get below that canopy. So some of our trees really get chopped down, and it really impacts the health of the tree. And again, ironically, as they cut trees, it makes them grow even faster, and it becomes a problem for them routinely as far as how they grow, and they start to grow improperly, more out and not necessarily up, and it becomes imbalanced tree and at risk of falling. So the impacts of that, as I kind of indicated, the trees haven't really topped, which leaves a large area exposed wounds that can be infested since you're topping them at the top and the trunk gets exposed, which ruins the tree structure, destroys a tree's appearance and value, stimulates vigorous new growth, which can prone additional breakage, increases the tree maintenance cost over time for Edison, and even for us too, as we're going out and dealing with issues when there's been high winds, etc. They also try to train the trees to grow around the utilities, which usually means that they become imbalanced because they're cutting one side of the tree and trying to encourage it to grow kind of at an awkward shape around the utilities, which makes only one side of the tree have growth, the other side has been pretty much wiped out, and it just looks awkward. And then, pruning on one side that caused that imbalance, and it was creates an imbalanced tree, and additional liability in the city should the tree fall. So trying to train the tree isn't really a good process in our opinion. So in our discussions with SCE, we met with them and talked about the impacts, and SCE took our list that we gave them and reviewed it. They actually did field work out there to verify the trees we had listed and whether or not they felt they were appropriate to be removed or not. They narrowed down that list to 231 trees they were willing to remove. They felt that were an impact, and that they felt it also was in their best interest to remove for their long-term maintenance needs. So of that, they proposed basically a 5-year schedule we put in your packet, and they ranked those trees based off of their priority of when they would want to remove them. And basically they've done a priority where they're trying to get the more aggressive trees first that grow the most, propose the most maintenance, and then go down that the category accordingly. So they want to go through and do about 50 trees a year, starting with the ones that are rated as a 1, and then go to the next category that's a 2 and a 3. So in that first year they will do all the list of the 1s, and then some of the 2s, then they'll go to the 2s and get some of the 3s, etc., until they're done. The total benefits that we've estimated to do all these trees is at least $200,000 that we would otherwise have to do on our own to remove these same trees. Because again, these are trees that we've already classified we were planning to remove. Just for now, Edison is recognizing that they want to be a good partner for Norco and work with us on helping maintain our urban forest. At the same time, they're able to reduce any liabilities or future maintenance costs they have. But I do want to point out what we're bringing forward today does not include any tree replanting. Edison does not have any funds for planting. The programs they had in the past to provide trees is not available any longer. And so what we're focusing on here is really just pointing out a bigger issue in that, one, removal of this many trees, whether it's by the city or by Edison, obviously has an impact. It's an aesthetic issue, where they're located, etc. And we want to make sure, number one, is the council has been apprised that as we move forward in this process to remove trees, that we're at least advising you where this is being done, whether it's the trees we're removing or Edison's removing. Because again, I understand in information in the past that as we've done certain tree removal projects during whole lengths of trees have been removed, there's been some discussion about why do we do this, what's going on, what's the impacts. But the reality is these trees in this case are planned to be removed. They're designated removed because an arborist has said they should be removed. It's a safety issue. So we're taking and recognizing that Edison is giving us a tremendous benefit to work with us over the next 5 years to go ahead and remove these trees, and that's less of amount of funds that we have to come up later on to remove them ourselves. Just to give you an idea of where the Edison trees are, this is kind of where it's mapped, and it's basically in certain areas. It's basically 7th Street where their power lines are. And Pedley, some on Corona, Temescal, and I should point out that in for Pedley and or even 7th Street, and it might be the other streets, I haven't looked at them, but at least for those streets, the power lines are on the opposite side of the trail. So it's not going to impact as far as shade or anything like that related to the riders enjoying that ride, because it's a trail portions on the opposite side where the power lines are. So it's not going to make a change on certain roads. On others it might be the case, but it's not going to really change much. So on this project is that our recommendation is to allow Edison to move forward with the tree removals for this year, which is based off of the priority list that they established. Like I said, they're going to do about 50 of them for this year because they have their own budgetary constraints, but they're happy to do it and commit to do this over the next 5 years. And in addition, we'll be doing our miscellaneous tree removal that we have planned, and that's more scattered around, looking at the more severe trees that we've identified that aren't Edison related that we have to get rid of. But it's mainly kind of cherry picking certain areas in that regard. For funds that we've allocated for this year to do our own internal tree removal using WCAR contractor. With that, I'd be happy to answer questions you have.
Any questions for Chad? Robin?
I have a small list. Is that all right? So I have a couple of things. Just a few issues when we talk about the removal. And I guess liability would be the correct word for damage to residents' properties, or looking at some of these trees are right up against block walls. Some of these trees are right up against fence lines. So when those are removed and they're doing the stump grinding and that stuff, what's being discussed to take care that there's not damage to residents' current property when the trees are being removed?
Well, again, I say this, the assumption is that as the contractor for SE is out there removing these trees, they're taking due diligence and care of removing material appropriately. They're not cutting at the bottom and saying timber. It's they're removing it in sections and safely so that it's not falling on people or damaging material. Obviously, if they do damage anything in that process, residents have a claim process, whether it's, I'd say with Edison or the city, but that's the process they need to go through to get something fixed or repaired.
So it is SCE, not the city, on this particular list?
Those are our trees, and we're liable for them. And this list here is...
But through the removal process, with SCE is not taking the liability for damages, or
no,
instead of us?
Yeah, Chad, if SCE is going to do the work, certainly we're going to have them to indemnify the city and to assume the liability. Any liability that is related to the removal of the trees.
Well, we can certainly talk to them about it. I would imagine they may balk at that because they're doing this process as a consideration and not, and because recognize these are city trees, and they have every right to cut the trees as they are and are not obligated to do anything with the trees. They don't have to remove it all, and we would have to remove them. So I hope, and I'll have a discussion with them, that they would give us that consideration. But they may come back and simply say, no, we're willing to move the trees, but we don't want to waive any liability for the city because we're doing this as a consideration, not a requirement. So, but I will engage them, obviously, because of that request, to find out if they are willing to do that.
Yeah, I'm only just wondering around, because, like I said, there's some fence lines that are really, really close on some of these trees. So I'm just wondering where that's going to fall if there are claims that come in, and who's going to be responsible, and then what the timeline would be. And then the other question I had, and you can see in your map, the impact is very close in a small portion of our city, and so I think because of the proximity of it, the impact is going to be greater than if it was a few trees scattered here and there. Like, you're going to drive down 7th, or you're going to drive down Pedley or Temescal, where in some of these, a single resident is potentially losing 4 or 5, 6 trees along the edge of their lot, which is a huge impact. And so I just want to make sure, like on some of these cases where a single resident is going to have that process taking place, that they're notified and maybe talked to. I'm sure some of them are going to be like, thank you for removing the problem, and some, you don't know how the residents are going to respond, but I think notifying some of these folks of what's going to take place.
And that was part of our process, because they gave us a specific list in the order they wanted to go. We would simply provide notification that once we develop the schedule with Edison, when they plan to do it, we can tell them on this week or this weekend, whenever they're planning the contractor, that these trees will be removed. Please make sure you don't have any vehicles in the area, because again, we want to make sure that we clearly identified, please remove any materials or vehicles that could be an impediment to us, to Edison removing the trees.
Okay, and then my last question would be on Temescal, it's on the horse trail side. I know you mentioned on 7th, maybe it wasn't. On the areas where it's on the trail side, can we put some kind of notification out to residents so that of trail closures during that time, Temescal, for example, is a heavily used trail in the vicinity of some of these, just making sure, that residents know as well that the trail will be closed for a certain amount of time for them to do their work.
Yes, I mean, normally even on the day, even if it's a contractor came in that day and they're doing work in the trails, they block off the trails, say there's no entry or access. So they would do that regardless, but because that's just the safety, but they can't just get anybody in there. So they would do that regardless on that day.
Well, prior notification to
and we can put up some sort of notice that on this day or this week, the trail will be closed periodically or in phases because of the tree removal process.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Berwin, anything?
Yeah, Robin was talking about removing all those trees at once in one area. I remember when they did that on 5th Street over here. I don't know what year that was. Do you remember, Kevin, when they took all the trees down on one block?
God, I don't remember, but it sure looked bare.
Yeah, it stripped the neighborhood there and looked.
That was the Lurpacillus.
Huh?
Wasn't it the Lurpacillus that year, or was it the pepper tree year?
Eucalyptus, I believe.
Yeah, that was the Lurpacillus.
But they took all of them out, and it sure did. I thought it downgraded the neighborhood when they took the trees. So I hope they don't do that over in our area. And I noticed today, it was the orange trucks today that was working on 7th Street. I don't know if they were trimming or removing. Trimming. And they had the trail blocked at each end. They had a sign up on each end to block the. Okay, so that's the one that'll be doing the.
Likely.
Yeah, well, I just hope they stagger the cut on these things. They don't take them all out in one wad.
And they're not. I mean, based off of their priority list, they are going to jump around quite a bit.
Okay.
Eventually, they will mostly be removed on these stretchers that we're showing you here on the screen, but it will be over 5 years. So they might remove one and leave 3 that they're planning to remove 2 years later, because it's not the high growth tree or issue tree that they've identified on this list. So they will be jumping around. So there will be people that are going to ask, why didn't they remove the tree that's right here? It's because that's not part of their plan. They're going to do it over time.
Right. It won't be a shock to the neighborhood then. Thank you.
Ted?
And looking at your map, and Berwin and I went, was it in December? That easement there off by the Dowels, the road we went to, right off in the old the JR spread. Anyway, there is a bunch of eucalyptus trees that were in the easement property behind these people's homes. Edison had been clearing them, but what has happened is, just like you said, they top, but I don't see them on your map, and they have become a mess in there behind that property.
That's over there behind, that's all between Kip's Corner and Dale's Drive is where
Dale's.
where that
Dale's is the street on the north end, Kip's will be on the south end. But that is an easement where those eucalyptus trees have been being cut by Edison, topped off. But I don't see it on your map.
Answer that question for you, Ted. The trees you see on the map are city trees. The ones behind that easement are not. That's why they're not represented on the map. That is also not the city's easement. City property and
Okay.
not represented on this map.
Okay, well, that answered that question. Chad, on the removal, and they're going to take them all the way down.
And stump grind them.
Stump grind them, ground low.
Yep. They're going to take
No
it down.
roots. Now that we're not going to hit utilities, nothing like that.
That's the goal, is not to hit any utilities, but they're going to stump grind them and get them below ground.
Okay, and now my final goes back to Robin's question. One home in 2 years will have 12 trees removed from their property.
From the city property.
From the city property, yes, in front of their property. Okay, that's at 4131 Pedley, and they're going to lose their tamarisk evergreens, which are ugly anyway, but personally. And then they're going to lose a whole bunch the next phase, and that following phase, and they're going to lose all those, but in one pepper tree. 12 trees. Okay, just So it's going to be a big shock.
Right.
In the first and second phase. So okay, just I want to be aware of that.
That's why I'm here, because I want to make sure we're giving full disclosure of what we're doing, where we're doing it, so everybody's aware of what's coming. And again, our part will be the communication in advance, tells them that these set of trees are scheduled to be removed in front of your home, and they're aware of it. And again, first starts here with council.
And it's nothing but a weed tree anyway, but it is something that was planted in the 30s and 40s. Should have never been done, but it's there. Okay, thank you.
Newton.
So, what would be a typical budgetary cost for a replacement tree?
I don't know. Terry, do you have an idea?
Typical budgetary cost for a 15-gallon tree planted and tended for the first 6 months is about $125. That is only the first 6 months.
Okay.
If it dies within that time period, they do replace it, the warranty starts over. And then there's...
So, at times I'm a cynic with Edison. I mean, I'm not going to support this, but I'm disagreeing with the point that Edison has killed these trees, okay, or damaged them and have limited their life expectancy, that they should be owning up and replacing. I'm not going to say 1 for 1, maybe it needs to be 1 for 2 or 1 for 3. But they need to come to the table with replacement trees on this. This is my feeling. If not, then I would think the possibility could exist that maybe we could work something with the homeowners. Like what Ted said, you're going to have one homeowner that's just 12 trees are going to be gone. I just don't believe them when they say, you know, we don't have that program for replacement trees. But they're willing to help us and save us hundreds of thousands of dollars by cutting them down. It's only to benefit them, where I think they're the responsible parties. So with that part, just gonna, Steve will be proud of me, that in our general plan, in our land use element, we have a policy number 3.6.3, and it talks about significant design features in our community, and part of it's trail fencing. But with that, the city should take all opportunities to obtain grants and to appropriate city funds as they can be available for the planting of street and trail trees. These, along with trail fencing, help define the real image of streets and neighborhoods. Outside of trails and trees, most neighborhoods do not have unique features. So if we want to look like everybody else, then mow down the trees. But I support that we have replacement trees and try to find and work some type of system with them. That's all I have.
Yeah, I'm torn with these trees because I know we're trying to do the urban forest and I know they're dying, and I could never figure out why trees planted in the 30s and 40s suddenly were getting just topped the way they were. Did they just grow up to the lines, or were the lines not there when they planted them? I mean, it's... Yeah. Well, the 1880s, and then, you know, I went away to the war, and it was that, you know, that went. I don't know. There's part of me, I was thinking the same thing. I'm kind of wondering, can we go to them and see if we can find some way to plant some trees? Because I get why they have the right to trim them, and I get that the pepper trees were planted in the 30s, so their life expectancy is probably pretty done. But that said, that's a lot of trees. Now, I do know that the trees that they just talked about, the 12 they're going to lose, those aren't in good shape because they've been topped so much, they're full of bugs. I think there's a chance they might be able to help us out with trees, or is there a grant someplace we can replace these trees? And by the way, most of this is on one side of the street.
Right.
I mean,
it's only focused in their right away.
There's a few that are on the other side of the street, but it's all odd numbers.
Yeah. We did talk to Edison several times regarding their tree program, and in talking with different levels of staff, you know, from the field guys to the managers, and they've all said that the tree program they don't have anymore. They have been spending an enormous amount of money, what they described it, in battling the bark beetle all over the state. So they're trying just to save the trees that they have, that are there, and being part of that process. And so that they basically don't have that program at this time. And they've said they don't have their little forest they used to have where people can go get trees and plant them. They just have insisted that program is not something that they are funding right now or will plan to fund in the future because of their current operations, is what they explained to us. And again, I've heard this same explanation a couple different times now from different levels within our organization. So I take it for face value. What they're telling me is the truth. What we have to think about is certainly there are potentially grant opportunities out there we can start and apply for.
Brian used to be a whiz at that stuff. He used to get us a lot of trees. You got any trees out there, buddy?
I was just looking, there's about 3 different opportunities, but I do want to make one comment to that. Steve King is a great guy at this, dude. He's good. Actually, Steve and I worked together on the last couple tree grants, so there are a few out there.
What I want to emphasize, though, is that for today, it's really just talking about getting the council's permission is to move forward with SC and have them remove these trees. What we have to talk about in the future, which is about whether we replant trees, how we fund that program, whether it's through grants or through the city or some other mechanism, which again, we can bring that back to you, where we're going to plant those trees, whether we want to put trees back in the parkway. Because the one thing I want to emphasize is we don't have enough money to manage the trees we have. Right. And you're wanting to put more back in. So I just don't want to keep putting us behind of not being able to manage the trees that we already have, and we're going to add more to it. I'm not, so it's just, that's my only objection to adding the trees.
You know, this may not be applicable, but in 1933, when the first tree program started, Norco was on the ropes. We had no money, and they decided to plant trees. And I'm just wondering if maybe we might be able to figure it out, because we're a little better off today. I mean, and maybe what we do is maybe we can do a tree planting or something like they did in the night. That's where all those trees came from. And I mean, if they figured it out in the middle of the Depression, we might be able to figure it out now. Maybe if we plant the trees, then the people that are there. But you bring up a very good point, because a lot of trees are actually in the trail. In fact, some of the trees on Pedley are actually in the street right away. They stick out so far.
And that's what, again, policy-wise, it's something we can talk about and go through the stock committee and look at what we want to do in replanting trees that have been removed, where we want to do it, whether we want it in the parkway or we want it simply, it needs to be on the property owner's property. Because Edison has tree plant, what do you call it? Tree lists that they prefer. So if you're going to put something back in the right away,
low and wide.
Right. So we would certainly want to make sure that whatever we plant back has to meet that requirement, so that in the future it's not an issue for us for them coming through and badly trimming them. They wouldn't trim them at all. We'd be doing it part of our program because it doesn't impact their ability, so they'd never even touch them. So as long as we stick within their process, nobody goes back and put a palm tree in, and that we aggressively monitor that. So if somebody does do that because they remove the tree, that we go talk with them, tell them they need to remove that tree out of the parkway, because that is city area. They should have come to us and asked us first that, could I plant a tree? We would have given them material, telling them what they could do if we were going to allow that. Or we'd make the recommendation, if you have a desire, put it on your side of the property, and it definitely wouldn't be in most cases, within the Edison right-of-way. Right. But I think that's the bigger issue for me, is once this is done, is figuring out the plan. How do we engage putting some of these trees back? Because again, trees are beneficial, they're important, but we got to figure out how to fund them, what types we want, and where are we going to put them. That's the key for me, is where are we going to put these? And back in the same place? Okay, that's fine. Then I just want to make sure that we're not shorting ourselves by not funding our ability to take care of those trees, plus the other ones we're already not keeping up to the level we'd like to in our tree program. So that is something. It's not just stopping here. We know that next part that the council wants information on. Well, I was focusing today because I just didn't have those answers. Is being able to move forward or remove the trees and get the word out this is going to occur, and how we're going to communicate to the customers that this is going to occur and where it's going to occur in what order. And at the same time, then come back, figure out, are there grants, are there opportunities, can Andy find some magic money somewhere, and we can do something. But again, and we'll still continue to talk with Edison to say, listen, is there anything you can do? Is there some partner that you haven't mentioned that might be able to help us out? Well, you know, and all those are still there. We just need to do that work.
Ted, did you have something?
Yeah, we're going to get caught between a rock and a hard place in this. Really are. I would love to see us look for grants for drought-resistant and non-invasive, not heavy root-bearing trees, because they tear up our roads and they just don't last. When I say that, then I remember what Mr. Petrie told me when we first started talking about the urban forests and why this city went, like a lot of cities in Southern California, started developing this program, because bottom line, it was liability. Tree limbs fall down, hurt people, we're on the hook. And these trees are going to fall down, hurt somebody, hurt a rider, and we're on the hook. I don't like the idea that Edison come in and not give us a tree back, but at the same time, out of our, what'd you say, 10,000 trees? Mm-hmm. We're talking 231 trees. Is that what they're going to pay for?
That's what they're paying for.
It's not even 1%. Maybe it is. So whatever. So, you know, we can debate this to death about what them getting it, or we can work for grants for replacing trees. But I think overall the liability on the situation is going to outweigh it. I mean, that's bottom line is we're going to be stuck.
And the only reason we're recommending this is simply public safety. Whether we do
I understand that.
or Edison helps contribute like they're doing, it's a positive.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes you just take the fact that they're going to pay for the removal. My bottom line is I don't want to see a bunch of tree stumps and old dead trees laying back up there off a bluff and River Road anymore on that city-owned property.
Right. And they were firm on it. They originally were going to cut the trees down, but we're going to leave the stumps. And we said, no, we don't, you do it all. And they finally capitulated, said, we'll remove everything.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, one more thing. The successful programs in the communities for tree planting programs are really predicated on the fact that the community or the resident are involved with it. Because if the residents don't take ownership of that tree and helping out there, you're not going to be successful. One of the things when Steve and I did the last one is we planted a lot of trees with the hope, and a lot of people didn't step up and trees were removed or killed or no water to them or whatever. So I think whatever we do decide later on from a policy standpoint, I think Chad is absolutely right that we have to have, if we do any type of replanting program, it's going to have to engage the community to be involved with helping with that tree to take care of it.
Yeah.
And on that note, Brian and I had this discussion the other day that I guess one of my concerns is that to have a plan for tree removals, however you work it out with Edison, why should we not have a plan for tree replacement at the same time?
There isn't any reason you couldn't have that. It's just at the timing wise, we were looking at efforts to gain funds to remove the trees, and we wanted to bring that forward so Edison could begin that process. We recognizing that the obvious question from council and the public is whether or not any trees are going to be placed back, and that was going to be part of the second discussion. Is because whether we did it and had a plan right now, or we have it developed and finalized 6 months from now, doesn't seem unrealistic or unreasonable to plan that way. I guess that was our motivation. Is really just again, there's an offer that was brought forward. We wanted to be able to move on that and begin, because they're anxious to start moving on that and that process, and so that's why we're bringing it forward now.
What's the reason for their sense of urgency?
They're just willing to do it, and they want to get it done within their budget, and we're happy to have them remove it before they say their money's gone. Again, it's not that
since money isn't gone.
I know, but it's just a desire to move forward on an offer and get the policy part done, because what I'm trying to get them to is a verbal commitment, which this is, and we're recognizing it as a city that we want them to do that, and so that I can then carry that stick the rest of the years, no matter who the supervisor changes to. I can say, no, you guys agreed to this already. I have your emails, I have this and that. Let's keep it going.
I think the urgency item is the potential liability that exists there, and I think
the liabilities always existed.
But the longer it stays, the worse it's going to be.
Right, but to me it just seems logical that you know what's going to happen. We're going to start cutting down trees, and then we're going to drag and drag and drag and not have a replacement program in place.
But you also got to keep in mind, let's say if we're trying to get grants don't happen in 3 months. I mean, it's usually a year, 2-year process by the time grants get approved through some of these programs. So we need it, again, I think the biggest thing is determining, do we want to put trees back? We want to use the palette that Edison recommends in those areas. Do we want it decided? Do we want to put it in the parkway? Do we want to have the residents simply put it on their property? Because we want to, one, do we want to selfishly eliminate our maintenance costs because we can't keep up with the maintenance we have now? So I said what I'm committing to is trying to find revenue that can do that, whether it's through grants or general fund money or whatever it might be, because once you have the money, then you could it's just deciding, okay, how many trees are we going to put per lot? Are we going to get 1 back per lot? Are we going to put 2 back? Whoever wants them, what's our logic and process? Because again, I want it to be fair. Who got a tree removed? Can they go through and select what they want to do? Are we going to do it? Is the customer going to do it on their own? You know, trying to figure all that, how that would be done. And that just takes a lot of time to develop that the right way, because I don't want it to be rushed and we make mistakes and we haven't thought it out. And that's more my concern, is just prudently making sure that we develop something that, one, you guys can be confident is being done right.
Thank you, Chad.
Any cards?
Mayor, I do have one card, but I think the speaker may be gone. Karen Leonard.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Did you have a card? Do you want to get a card? Do me a favor, just come up and speak and then make sure she gets a card. And walk faster.
Anyways, thanks. The tree program in the LMD area, Roy and I were pretty adamant about getting trees replaced all the time. And I don't know who said it, about having the homeowners be involved in this program. We replaced several people's trees 3 and 4 times, and they're still dead up there. So unless you have somebody buying in on actually watering the trees, don't even bother watering. Don't even put in trees. I think I agree with Greg completely. If you're going to take them down, you need to put something back in its place. When other public works directors were here, they pointed out that on Branding Iron there is a bunch of pine trees, and when Terry was there, we drove around the neighborhood looking at trees. He knows we were at the trees. They're like, oh, all those pine trees should not be planted here. They're planted right under the power lines, right on Branding Iron, right as the Death Man's Curve, and all those trees go right into power lines. So you might as well start.
By the way, 5 years.
Yeah, they'll just top them and kill them. Yeah.
Eventually, yeah.
That's it?
So when Bill was here, he said he was going to replace the trees, but never happened. Okay, thanks.
Don't forget your card.
He's going to replace them in 2 weeks.
All right, that's enough. Jeez. I can close it. Yeah, I better close. All right, bring it back to council. Do we have a motion? Do we have... Well, I make a motion to approve this, but I'm a little confused. Do you want to take this back to committee for the... What I'd like to do is make a motion with the caveat that we begin right away looking for trees to replace these. We may not be able to do it right away, but given just from the old Park and Rec days, it would take Brian 6, 7, 8 months sometimes, but then you'd have like a gazillion trees. So it'll take a little time, but I think if we authorize this in terms of safety, but then maybe have Brian, Steve, and whomever have them move forward. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, I mean, my commitment is, again, we will look at funding sources, because it's not just the trees that Edison's going to remove, it's the trees that we're removing too that will have impact on customers. So this is not just the Edison related areas that folks are going to want their trees or hope that would like to have a tree back and what their options are. So what I'm committing to you is to do that.
The other thing I'd like to have is like for me, I'm not exactly sure where I'm supposed to plant my trees now, because I took out 4 because they were dying, and I haven't planted them because I'm not actually sure, and I'm not under the power line. But maybe if we can create guidelines for, but you're doing that on purpose. So we can have guidelines for residents who want to take care of their own trees.
And again, that's the part I want to. I'd like to be able to move forward on this, as far as at least let Edison know that council supports their methodology they'd like to do, and the funding they're putting forth to do that, and their overall schedule. And then in addition to that, what I would be doing is then looking at that next part, which is, again, sitting down, trying to find funding, applying for what can be done, talking with Edison, see if they have any other resources or nonprofit groups that might be able to help us out to get trees, what they would be, etc. And also, again, talk about, and we can sit down and talk with the STUC committee to talk about, where should we put these trees? Do we want to put them back in the same places and have the maintenance? Is there some alternative choice? Do we want to limit the number of trees per house so we don't get 12 in an area, and it's maybe limited to 2, and come back with, again, some plan that you can at least chew on, tell us if you support, if you want something different. Hopefully by when the plan's actually done, as far as how to come back and do planning in the areas where folks want them and are requesting them, that we also have more information regarding revenue or sources of revenue that we could use, and or groups that are offer to provide plants, etc. So over time we'll have more information to offer you, to tell you how we're actually going to make it possible to get the folks the trees. But part of the discussion I wanted to decide later on is, where are we going to put these and how are we going to put them in? That's a big policy decision in my mind, because again, ultimately I want to manage it properly, and my concern is to put these back, we have no way of watering them. We need the resident to take care of those. I got to have a water truck go along all these locations watering these trees, so they establish for the first 6 months, and hopefully after that they're able to stand the test of time and just grow on their own, or the resident jumps in and was willing to water them because they've got a new tree that they hopefully want to nurture. So it's a community project that we really need to develop here.
Well, I've made a motion to approve this. Do we have a second?
Sorry, I'm getting consultation down here from my partner on the end. I would like to add, Chad, if it's possible, looking into some type of an adopt a tree program. That might be some way to do this, where people can sponsor trees and or take care of them when they're put into place. If we're looking at $125 a tree, I know there's a couple of organizations probably right off the bat that would gladly help out with some type of adopt a tree program. If you can look and see if somebody around one of our neighboring cities has a program like that, or something we could look into.
Mayor, did you get a second on that?
I think that was a second. Was that a second? Nope, I don't have a second yet.
I'll second the motion. I want to clean his motion up if I can, though, is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you will get, in 12 months, come back with a tree replacement program to this council, and then I'd vote for approval on this.
Sure.
That doesn't cost us anything. Employing as many grants as we can.
Okay.
So I just want to clarify the motion made by Mayor Bash, seconded by Councilmember Hoffman, to authorize staff to finalize a multi-year schedule for the removal of dead and dying trees by Southern California Edison, and direct staff to develop a tree replacement program within 12 months. Councilmember Hanna?
Yes.
Councilmember Grunmeyer? Yes. Councilmember Hoffman?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Newton?
No.
Mayor Bash?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Bringing it back to, well, hang on here. bringing it to, where the heck is it? City Council, City Manager, Staff Communications, anything from staff?
Just one comment. I want to give the council an update. Last week we talked about the fire hydrants. We indicated there were 7 hydrants that were inoperable and need to be repaired. Now there are currently only 3 left to repair. So we're making good progress on that, trying to get that done as soon as possible.
Good. Anything from City Manager?
Just additional information. Next Wednesday, we'll be having a rate study workshop, study session here in City Council, beginning at 4 p.m. And this will be a study of water and sewer rates.
Anything from council?
Couple. On this last agenda item, I could have made the nexus, but it's the same topic. It's with Edison and dead trees. And I've had this conversation with Chad, but I'd like to take it a little bit more because I'm now upset with Edison. Edison has been through various areas of Old Town Norco, removing the electrical apparatus from their poles, okay? And so now we have dead trees, right? I'd like a date certain on when the telephone company is going to make the transition to the new Edison poles and remove the old poles. I know you've gotten some information from them, but I'd like to see a schedule.
Yeah, I've tried numerous times to call the telephone company and have got nothing back on that. I've actually talked to Edison to see if they have any contacts I can talk with, and they pretty much put up their hands in that they did their part of putting a new pole in, removing, topping off their stuff. Now it's on the telephone company to move their equipment over to the new pole and take out the old one. So they kind of wash their hands of it, and so I'm trying to get somebody who can respond to give me an answer, but we'll continue on that.
I understand the difficulty of one utility working with another, and Kevin, you ran across this on Hamner Avenue years ago with
3 years.
Yeah, and not to further comment, but this is one of my concerns with Edison. We put in the new pole, now it's somebody else's problem. Well, it becomes now the residents' problem, and we're the ones having to look at it and deal with it. So not all the telephone company. Edison is a shared responsibility in that. So the other item I have is I've thought about this for quite a while, for the last few weeks, and going back into different planning issues that we've had, and this is all going back to Ted talking about problems that we've had with appeals with accessory buildings, and where we are today with this, that and going back through like our land use elements and things like that, and the development of this ad hoc committee. We're losing some direction, I feel, and that I don't want to say our system's broke in a way, but there's some issues with it. So we've had this request for a motion for reconsideration. So what I'd like to do on this specific accessory building approval, and that I'm not saying our action is correct or incorrect, but what I'd like to do is agendize. Let me see if I can get this right, Colin. Okay, that I'd like to agendize a reconsideration, just period, with the understanding that that reconsideration can only be done by myself, Councilman Hoffman, or Councilperson Grunmeyer.
As far as this vote today is concerned,
Is to just put it on the agenda, right?
it's just to put it on the agenda, the motion to place this matter on the agenda for actual
is required to be made by somebody who voted with the majority, and since the motion has been made by somebody who voted with the majority, it needs a second by anybody and can be voted on by anybody. We need a majority. If the vote passes, we will put an actual agenda item to see whether the council wants to vote to reconsider the CUP, and then at that point we'll put it on a new council hearing for an actual new hearing to reconsider the CUP. If the clerk could please note for the record that Mayor Bash has stepped out, recused himself due to a conflict. So there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilmember Hanna. Councilmember Grunmeyer. Councilmember Hoffman.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Newton.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All I have.
Call him back in so he can close the meeting.
Under your training,
Yeah, you can close.
Do we have any other things? This meeting is adjourned.